Hello everyone, we're going to be looking today at pre-drops and fake-out drops. So I've got a song here that I've been making, which has both of them in. It uses stuff like taking out certain elements, drum fills, holding on the drop drums, using lots of riser and transition and fuller and downer effects, stuff like that. Um, and it's something that a lot of people actually struggle with. I still struggle with it. There's a lot of different tricks that you have to do, but we're going to look today at how I approach this sort of thing, especially in a new tune. So I'm going to play that section of the song now, and then we'll dive into how I actually did it. So as you can see there, as we come up, the pre-drop consists of two sections. We have a section where we essentially cut everything and focus just on transitional effects, which is this one. We then have the drum fill section, which is here. And then we have the fake out section of the drop, where I cut the drums and we play some break drums and essentially play the synth and the bass and the vocals at full volume, but pull you in to where the drums actually come in. So let's dive in. We'll start with the pre-drop here. So in terms of drums, we have a kick coming up, a build kick. And then we cut everything. And then we have a drum fill here, which I made myself by mixing up samples. And then in the fake out drop, we have amen breaks that get filtered up. So those are the main drums that we're working with for that section. Now, in terms of vocals, what we have is... We are gonna shell down a party tonight. So as you can hear, essentially what happens is we come in, we have the vocals singing. We are gonna shell down a party tonight. We have the delay on the last phrase of that vocal. And then we have a pause from all the vocals. We then have a hey. And then I have a reverse coming back in, where essentially I've taken a phrase off the start of the vocal and the drop here. And I've reverbed that out with reverb and OTT, and then flattened it and reversed it. So you get something like this. So here. So that's how the vocals are going. Now, with the synths, and with a lot of the other things, we basically keep the bass going and following the melody that we want all the way up until that last little drum fill. So that's important to note there, because we haven't cut that or kept it monotone or rised it up or something like that. Like, it's following the melodic progression of the intro all the way to that point. You don't have to cut that when your build starts. You can do it all the way to the drop. And you can hear here that we have the risers. All the risers and all the rising and drums and stuff, they cut as soon as that pre-drop section fills, and then there's nothing there. So this is where we start to get into the meat. So now we've gotten to a place where our vocals are sort of sitting in the spot, our drums have been cut, we got the fill and all that, but what do we do with the effects? So the first thing that I did is I made this little camera fill. So this is a combination of a few different instruments here. I'm going to expand these out. So basically what we have is a little camera riser. We have another riser. And these are panned either side, so right and left. So they work together like this. I then have a bunch of different camera flash and impact sort of samples. So we got a blip. We got this sort of weird glitchy camera. We got your classic camera sound. We got a reverbed camera sound. And then we got an impact. So we have sort of the low impact here from your impact, sort of low drive there. We have the camera click, but because it's been stacked, we have that nice and reverbed and layered up. And then we layer that with 2 risers. And then in terms of effects in that section, we also have an uplifter here, or sort of a suck back or a reverse sort of reverb, whatnot. And then when we go into that drum section, we also have another one. So this is an important part to note here, is that we are using, when you get into these sections, you want to be using transitional effects that pull you up and pull you down from every point that you want accentuated. So the first point I want accentuated is obviously where the pre-drop starts, where I cut everything. Now I've already had all the riser elements going up there, so there's not a lot of transitional effects that I have to put going into this one, because we have all of this stuff coming up here. But as soon as we get into that section, we then push you down with these transient sort of things, with the camera clicks and with the ghost hack impact here. And then you immediately are being pulled back up again by these risers. And then you get into the section here, where you're being pulled down again by the vocal. But then you were also being pulled up by the reverse. And while that's happening, you obviously have the drum fill that's playing. And you have the reverse vocal here that's pulling you in. And then we get into the pre-drop, or the fake out drop, sorry. Where again, we are pulled down by a lot of transitional effects. We got this little crash here. We also have this longer ambient sort of hit. That's also really good for tension. Without it, it actually doesn't sound too good. But it sort of adds this section of like, we've been hit with this tension. We're still holding you there. You are going somewhere. And we know that from, obviously, we are rising up with the Amen drums by filtering them up. And then we also have other riser elements like this one I made in Sarah. And then we also have the suck backs right towards the end of the drop. But essentially it's still holding you there while sucking you in. So I know there's a lot of different samples here and it may be a little bit hard to follow along with, but what I want you to take away from this is that when you're doing these sorts of things, you really need to hold the listener's hand and push them to go exactly where you want them to go. When you get to the end, we've pulled up, we've tensioned up all the way, we've built all this tension, and then we crash it back down with all of these camera clicks and impacts. We pull you back up with the little risers here. Then you get pushed into the drum fill section. You rise back up with the suck back here. Then you go into your pre-drop. Sorry, again, not your pre-drop. You go now into your fake out drop. And then that's where we add in, well, everything comes in now. We've got the vocals, we've got the basses, we've got the synths, but we're still using a lot of these transitional effects. We're crashing into it and we are sucking back out of it. We are doing a tension drone reverb hit into it, but we are also rising you back out of it. So the whole time you are feeling like you're going in and up and down like this. You are, and it's all cohesive together. It's not just enough to have just the drums there. It's not just enough to have no drop drums there like we have here. You really have to like help them with the with the transitional effects. Now, keep in mind, like, there's a few other things I haven't done. So when I layer these up, like, I could have filtered those up, I could have filtered them down. I decided not to. For this one, I've done that before a lot, but for this one, I decided to just have the bass in full effect and to have the vocals in full effect wherever they are.
Lick up on table, you know the thing go. Money in a pocket, you know the thing go.
But we're not letting that just only be the thing in there. We're complementing it with a lot of different rises and fallers, downers, transitional effects, stuff like crashes, impacts, rises, downers. What else is there? Suckbacks, reverse reverbs, filtering up, filtering down. All these sorts of keywords is what you should be looking for, and especially looking for in your samples. So cheers for listening to that, guys. I hope that's helped. I know it's a big project and there's a lot that I sort of went into. It was a bit jumpy, but that's what I want you guys to start thinking about when you get into doing these pre-drop and fake out drop sections. I'll see you in the next video.